We are wrapping up one lunar cycle and about to begin a new lunar cycle. The one that we are wrapping up, I wrote about in my blog post at thestarqueen.com/blog, and I spoke into it here in this channel titled Divine Alchemy of the New Moon. And there are some prayers in there for the predicted events that I predicted, fires and shocking occurrences. So I invite you to go look at that to see what that's about and kind of reflect on that during this time of the dark moon that we are in. I'm Tammy Antoinette. I am an ancient Babylonian astrologer. I practice astrology as it was done back in ancient Babylon, Akkad, Sumer, ancient Greece, ancient Mesopotamia. And it's not the modern tropical mainstream astrology, and it's not the Indian Vedic astrology, although it is astronomical, it is sidereal. So if you would like to know more about the type of astrology that I practice, you can look at my video titled, What is Ancient Astrology and Why Do I Practice It? And so we are coming into a prosperity portal, actually. So we've got Venus is going to appear this weekend in the evening, the morning sky. She's going to rise as a morning star, albeit retrograde. And we have the first lunar crescent showing up Thursday on the 17th in the evening sky after the sun sets. And we have Sirius, our mother-father star, showing up in the morning sky. I've already seen Sirius here in Texas, and depending on where you are in the world, you may be seeing it later. A lot of the world expects to see it on the 18th and on the 19th. So look at your sky and take this into you. You have the whole universe inside of yourself. It's just a reflection of you. And whenever we observe the sky, then we can connect deeper with ourselves and with our own divinity. So this can really help us in life to remember who we are. So during the dark moon time that we have occurring right now, we've got the moon invisible. And because it's conjunct the sun, it's going to be exactly conjunct the sun on the 16th, August 16th in the morning. And it'll be in the space of the very last degrees of Cancer. So this is more nebulous alchemical energy coming in for the new lunar cycle. And during this dark moon time, I invite you to, or most of us naturally do this already, it's time to purge, time to detox, time for quiet, for meditation, since the sun and moon are in Cancer, it's a good time to connect with family, of course, to do any ancestral healing that's fully supported right now, especially with Venus retrograde in Cancer. And the ancients didn't really do much of anything whenever there was a dark moon. So whenever the moon and the sun meet, it's that change into a new lunar cycle, but we don't actually begin our new actions from the revising and the planning of the moon conjunct sun time until we see that first lunar crescent appear in the sky, and then it's time to take our actions. That's when the new lunar cycle actually begins, because we can see it. It's important that we observe these things. And so so I have actually I'm going to have a ceremony and masterclass on Friday for this new moon prosperity portal, since there is this Holy Trinity being birthed into our sky, reflecting the Holy Trinity within us, and it's activating the fulfillment of our visions, our desires that have been brewing from within, while Sirius, Venus, the moon have been invisible. And this is a women's new moon prosperity portal activation, and it's going to take place. You can register at thestarqueen.com/events, or go to my Facebook group, Astrology for High Achieving Women Sisterhood, and or send me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So as we approach this new lunar cycle, while our mother father star Sirius is rising to begin our spiritual new year, or freshly has risen, the first lunar crescent, the Queen of Heaven, is birthed into the stars of leadership and occult knowledge in Leo. So whenever we see that first lunar crescent show up, she's going to be in Leo with Mercury, with Mars. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, prosperity, pleasure, is birthing into Cancer, which is the space of home, family, roots, legacy, and ancestors. And Venus is retrograde, so it's time to do revision in this spot of in this area of our lives. So it's not time to move forward as far as things of love or beauty, prosperity, pleasure, relationships. It's not time to start something new yet, but we're going to see Venus in the sky, and it's really a great time to look inward and take from the knowledge that we have acquired during Venus's invisibility period, and step through this portal to literally like reprogram new codes of prosperity and creativity into our physiology by recapitulating and revising, rewriting any beliefs, patterns, habits, old stories that may be holding us back, that we have picked up from our ancestors and our family. And in turn, we can recreate our whole family's legacy. Those patterns stop, they change. We basically clean up our epigenetics whenever we observe and embody these energies of the sacred cycles from a place of knowledge and wisdom. We can transcend the programming that may have kept us from our full potential. I mean, we're on the planet to evolve, so we want to use these cycles for our own evolution and for our family's evolution. So we're going to harness this Holy Trinity, and we are going to harness the master keys to journey through a new prosperity portal for greater success, fulfillment, and the creation of more prosperity, more abundance in all areas of life, especially love, creativity, and business and finances. We're starting a whole new 9-month cycle when we see Venus birthed as a morning star. And whenever she is a morning star, she is in a place of more sovereignty than when she's an evening star. So it's time for us as women to take charge in our lives and recreate and embody these new patterns and beliefs to up-level us and our whole lineage and our legacy into a naturally higher stratosphere of balanced action and attraction. So I invite you to RSVP at thestarqueen.com/events. And I hope to see you there on Friday, the 18th. And without further ado, we have, so moon conjunct sun, August 16th, new moon conjunct the sun at 29 degrees Cancer, is squaring Uranus in Aries. And this is where Venus was whenever the fires happened in Hawaii. So she was in this location just a degree away from this, but also squaring Uranus in Aries. So this marks the beginning of the whole entire lunar cycle ahead. So we are going to continue with the theme of alchemy, basically. And then, so it's a wrapping up of that old lunar cycle going to the new. And then, yeah, so these days may feel shocking, explosive, turbulent, with the sun and moon at the final degrees of Cancer square Uranus and Aries, the great revolutionary. But ultimately, these things that happen, these alchemical cycles, are, whenever we look back, we can see that, oh, we learned so much and we actually evolved because of that experience. We wouldn't be who we are. We wouldn't be as strong and have our center as much without these alchemical experiences. So we do have more of this incoming, more fire, earthquakes, more heat happening. And this is actually at the degree, the final degrees of Cancer and beginning of Leo are where the Hydra is. So it is another dragon across the sky. So it's actually the sun and moon will be conjunct the head of the Hydra, conjunct this fixed star Alphard, and it's the brightest star in the Hydra. And it's a malefic place. And if you'd like to know about these dragons in the sky, that's similar to the Medusa, which I wrote about in the Perseids meteor shower to strengthen the soul for the August astrology. I wrote about that in the blog, thestarqueen.com/blog. And I also made a video about that, if you'd like to see that, the Perseids meteor shower that talks about these Gorgon dragons that are all over the sky. And yeah, so we want to be careful that we're not living in more primal places of fear. And we want to really get that that Kundalini rising and activate, keep our connection with God pure during this time. Things like Kundalini yoga can support you, or any kind of somatic work to embody and transmute through your nervous system, so that we don't have to suffer in these times, so we can transmute the energy. And so a Venus retrograde in the underworld, beneath the ocean of Cancer. So she's been doing this too, right? We'll continue to pray for our beautiful Venusian islands, for grace, for recovery, for healing, for truth under these explosive alchemical transits. And yeah, so the new lunar crescent will show up whenever we see that first lunar crescent appear. And it's going to be in the stars of, it's going to show up amongst Leo, the stars of astrology and occult knowledge and leadership. So the stars of Leo are there, and we'll have a stellium of, whenever the moon moves over to there, the sun would have moved there also, just in the first degree. And then we'll have, so moon, sun, Mercury, Mars, and Mars is invisible in most of the world, although I still see Mars in my evening sky here. I expect Mars to go invisible at the end of this month. So I'll talk a little bit into that. But the stellium are these four spheres in Leo, they are restricted with a very powerful Saturn at acronical rising opposing them. So Saturn opposite the sun. So when the sun is setting, Saturn is rising in the sky, and it gives Saturn a lot of power. So they can, these Leo powers can feel restricted right now in this phase because of that, because Saturn is there in Aquarius, and especially when he's at his strength right now. So yeah, so those in leadership, places of righteous leadership, that's Leo, which is ruled by the sun. This is the place of righteous leadership. May have some restrictions on them right now. They may have a harder time coming into their full leadership potential. So, but Saturn is there to teach. So we have to use the energies of Saturn whenever we're if we are leaders in any area of our lives, whether we're a leader in our home, in our family, in our business, or just leading ourselves through life. Saturn is here to tell us, okay, you have to have integrity. You're going to have patience. You're going to have to have discipline, and you're going to have to be consistent. And and then you reap the rewards of Saturn over the long term whenever you keep doing the work that Saturn wants you to do. Then those in places of leadership will be rewarded. Okay, so that's what's required right now. So retrograde Saturn. So Saturn's not as malevolent when he's retrograde, but he is still a malevolent planet, although he does have good qualities too. Without Saturn, we wouldn't have time. We would just have chaos. And so Saturn is the planet of government, of systems, and it's in Aquarius, the sign of humanity and community, opposing these planets in Leo. So the government and systems that are in place can have, because of this, Saturn's actually on the genitals of Aquarius right now during his acronical rising and acronical setting, which happens a few days later. So he's in a very powerful position on the genitals of the water bearer, and the government and the systems that are in place can have more of an underhanded, secret, deceptive actions that may keep humanity in a state of fear and codependency, and just at this like more primal level. So whenever you think of all these primal survival instincts, right? So keeping humanity in a survival mode, and they can be really challenging to reveal since Saturn is so strong. And in order to reveal the truth, we're going to need to be patient, discerning, take our time with putting in the extra effort to do our research, and only then will we be rewarded with the knowledge that we seek. And then Mars is invisible right now in many parts of the world. In some places, he went invisible late July. In Texas, here where I am, Mars is still in the sky, but I expect him to be invisible August 30th, although Mars is more unpredictable than planets like Venus. So I'll be watching the sky and reporting on that. So stay tuned. So he's going to stay invisible, hidden under the sun's rays through February here, and through May in latitudes north of Texas, at least. So those who are mostly affected by Mars will feel this more strongly. So if Mars was really strong in the sky whenever you were born, at the very moment that you took your first breath, every planet was aligned on the with each other in perfectly to show your soul's blueprint. So if Mars, if say you're an Aries or Scorpio rising, or you have your moon there in Aries or Scorpio, or if Mars was your Almioten, so you would be like a small copy of Mars, or if you're born with the sun above the horizon, then Mars would be even more malefic in your chart for you. So and if you'd like to know about that, if you'd like to know your own astrology and how following your soul's blueprint can really help your life to flourish, then you can book a consultation with me at thestarqueen.com/services, and I'll leave these links down in the description below. So keep a lookout for him disappearing in the evening sunset and then reappearing next year as a morning star. And this is a time where men can have a lot of problems and women can have problems with men. So Venus is going to be showing up and going direct while Mars is going in the underworld. So women are going to be doing better while men in general are going to be having a harder time. So we want to be aware of any underhanded manipulation and meanness. This is literally, the ancients called him Nergal. He was the ancient god of the underworld. And he was the god of war, of not righteous war, but just war for the sake of war and bloodshed. So he also represents that very primal energy. So he's a red planet representing the root chakra too. And we want to be careful of those lower energies. We don't want those to be in charge. We need all of them balanced out, right? So at this time, it can be a little unbalanced because he can be strong and sneaky. And in the ancient times, he was actually the planet of business. So especially men in business may have more challenges, and women can have problems with men. If men could have more deceptive secret scandals or just not stepping up into their healthy masculinity, they may turn more beta when they should be alpha, or the shadow side of masculinity could be more prevalent, just like the shadow side of femininity is prevalent whenever Venus is in the underworld. This could come up more for Mars in the masculine. So Mars journeys into the underworld every 2 years, but this shadow cycle is way longer than usual because of the space in his orbit where he is. So just be aware of that. And whenever we're aware of these things and we can look out for them and we can see that, okay, this isn't permanent, this is just something here for our learning and we're going to get through this, then it's actually much easier to our lives can be much easier whenever we are aware of what's actually going on in the sky. And yeah, that is just for our learning. And what can help with these Mars energies are Venus. Venus is Mars' lover. She's the only one who could seduce Mars into into his more more upright masculinity, his divine masculinity. So Venus, so diplomacy first and foremost. If we can remember to be diplomatic, and then this can really help with these malevolent Mars energies. So we have retrograde Venus rising. The new 9-month cycle is beginning. So watch for Venus in your morning sky. What will you be creating with Venus when she births new? So I invite you to, if you are a high achieving woman who wants to work with these energies, to really to RSVP for my event on Friday. And I'd love to see you there, and have a beautiful new lunar cycle. And I'd love to hear from you. So leave me a comment, ask your questions. Okay, have a beautiful new cycle ahead.